It's Saturday morning. The TV flickers to life with bright cartoons, theme songs blasting through the speakers. You're sitting cross-legged on the floor, a bowl of cereal bigger than your head balanced on your lap. Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms. Every spoonful is a sugar bomb, and every commercial break promises another toy, another mascot, another reason to beg your parents for one more box. This wasn't an accident. It was a carefully engineered experience. Cereal companies didn't just sell you breakfast, they sold you childhood. They built a world where cartoon mascots were your friends, where every box held not just food, but adventure. A prize, a game, a code to unlock something bigger. The brilliance and the danger of the cereal industry was how seamlessly it blurred the line between food and entertainment. The bowl of cereal was never just about eating. It was about belonging, about being part of a Saturday morning ritual designed not by parents or kids, but by billion-dollar corporations. And that ritual turned an ordinary grain into one of the most powerful marketing machines of the 20th century. Before cereal was a cartoon-fueled sugar rush, it was a moral crusade. In the late 1800s, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, a devout Seventh-day Adventist, ran a health sanitarium in Michigan. He believed bland foods could cure society's vices, from lust to alcoholism, and he saw grains as the answer. Enter cornflakes, a product designed not for pleasure, but for purity. But purity doesn't sell. Enter C.W. Post, Kellogg's former patient, who took the idea and ran with it. Post didn't care about curing sin. He cared about building an empire. He slapped health claims on his cereals, poured money into advertising, and began a marketing war that would shape the industry. Suddenly, breakfast wasn't just bacon and eggs. It was a packaged ritual, engineered in factories and sold with promises of vitality. By the early 20th century, breakfast cereal was no longer a niche health fad. It was a booming business. And in a country obsessed with modernity and convenience, it was the perfect symbol. Cheap, quick, and wrapped in the authority of science. What started as a health experiment had become the foundation of one of the most powerful consumer industries in America. The original cornflakes were bland. So bland, in fact, that John Kellogg's brother once joked they could cure anyone of ever wanting breakfast again. But bland doesn't build billion-dollar empires. The turning point came when cereal makers realized that the same ingredient fueling America's candy craze, sugar, could transform breakfast into dessert. By the 1940s and 50s, the industry had abandoned the health crusade. Post, Kellogg's, and General Mills began rolling out neon-colored cereals coated in sugar, marketed directly to kids. Frosted Flakes, Cocoa Puffs, Trix, they weren't just food. They were candy you could eat before school. And parents were sold the illusion that it was still part of a balanced breakfast. This was more than a recipe tweak. It was a business model. Sugar made the cereals addictive, cheap to produce, and irresistible to children. Every bite was a hit of instant energy followed by a crash, training young bodies to crave more. Cereal aisles turned into candy aisles, disguised as health food, and for decades, no one asked questions. The so-called most important meal of the day had been hijacked, and for millions of kids, breakfast became the first corporate-engineered addiction. Cereal companies knew sugar could hook kids, but sugar alone wasn't enough. They needed characters. Enter Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, Count Chocula, Lucky the Leprechaun. These weren't just mascots. They were psychological weapons designed to bypass parents and speak directly to children. Marketers understood something profound. Kids don't just want food, they want friends. Tony didn't tell you to eat Frosted Flakes because they were tasty. He told you they were grit. Toucan Sam didn't sell Fruit Loops based on ingredients. He told you to follow your nose into a world of fun. These characters lived inside commercials, cereal boxes, and even Saturday morning cartoons, building loyalty before kids could even spell nutrition. It was marketing disguised as companionship. Studies later showed that children actually trust brand mascots more than authority figures, a terrifying advantage for corporations whose bottom line depended on creating lifelong habits. And once the bond was formed, it was nearly impossible to break. Mascots turned breakfast into a theater of persuasion. Parents bought cereal, but kids consumed the brand, spoonful by spoonful, ad by ad, growing up with corporate-created friends that shaped their tastes for life. As if sugar and mascots weren't enough, cereal companies pulled out their most brilliant psychological trick: the prize. Sometimes it was a plastic toy, other times it was a decoder ring, a collectible card, or a code you could mail in for something bigger. Whatever it was, it made the cereal aisle feel like a casino for kids. The genius was in the packaging. You weren't just buying food. You were buying a mystery. Would this box have the toy you wanted? Would it complete your collection? That uncertainty kept kids begging for just one more box, training them on the same reward loops used in gambling. It didn't stop there. Brands partnered with blockbuster movies, fast food chains, and Saturday morning cartoons. Your cereal box could connect you to Star Wars, Pokemon, or Batman. The breakfast table became an entry point into a vast commercial universe. The prize-in-the-box strategy turned breakfast into a marketing funnel. Kids weren't just eating sugar. They were being recruited into brand loyalty programs before they could even count change. And cereal executives knew exactly what they were doing, building lifelong consumers one trinket at a time. For decades, the formula worked. Sugar, mascots, prizes, repeat. But eventually, the cracks began to show. By the 1990s and 2000s, parents and health experts started asking questions. Childhood obesity rates were climbing. Diabetes was on the rise, and breakfast cereals, once marketed as health food, were suddenly in the crosshairs. News reports revealed that some cereals were over 50% sugar by weight, with nutrition labels reading more like candy bars than breakfast. Schools began pulling junk food from cafeterias, and health campaigns warned parents that part of a balanced breakfast was nothing more than clever marketing spin. At the same time, cultural habits were shifting. Busy families turned to grab-and-go options like breakfast bars, smoothies, or skipping breakfast altogether. Cereal sales plummeted. Once a symbol of the American household, the morning bowl of Frosted Flakes was quietly losing its grip. In desperation, cereal companies tried rebranding. Organic labels, whole grain stamps, even high-protein cereals to lure back health-conscious adults. But the damage was done. The trust that once made cereal a beloved childhood ritual was broken. The golden age of cartoon mascots and sugar-coated mornings was fading, and the betrayal was impossible to ignore. The story of cereal isn't just about breakfast. It's about how corporations learned to sell happiness, and how easily childhood nostalgia could be weaponized for profit. What started with cornflakes at a Michigan sanitarium grew into a blueprint for modern consumer manipulation, sugar addiction, mascot psychology, gamified prizes, cross-promotional empires. Every trick perfected by the cereal industry has since been copied, scaled, and refined across entertainment, fast food, and tech. Think about it. McDonald's Happy Meals borrow directly from the toy-in-the-box playbook. Pokemon cards recycle the same scarcity and collectability tactics once used by Cap'n Crunch. Even social media apps today run on the same dopamine reward loops engineered around a bowl of tricks. Cereal taught corporations a profound lesson. If you can hook kids early, you can own them for life. And they did it all under the guise of family fun, Saturday mornings, and cartoon characters who felt like friends. The tragedy is that cereal wasn't just breakfast. It was the opening act in a century-long performance. One where corporations would turn innocence into revenue streams, and where childhood dreams would always come with a price tag.